Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Create Brevity. This is your host, eDirector, and we have a very special treat this week. We're going to do something a little bit different. I know I'm usually kind of picking a topic or maybe answering some questions that you guys have about manifesting. But for this week, I actually have a very special guest. His name is Greg, and we'll get into sort of his socials in a minute. But he is an amazing TikToker. He has some great conscious manifesting tips and techniques. And I think he's well on his way to becoming a very good friend of mine. And I just want to kind of share this moment with him. I really respect him. I respect his views and his advice and his hot takes. And for this week, I kind of wanted to just kind of talk to him, have a little Q&A session directly with him. So I hope you guys really enjoy this, and you're really about to get a wonderful treat. So I just want to welcome you, Greg. Thank you so much for making the time to talk and for joining us today. Thank you so much for being
Yes.
on Brevity Pod.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, before you begin, Greg, do you want to have our listeners do you want to explain where they can look you up, where they might be able to find you? Because I'm sure once they're done listening to this episode, they're really going to want to get on that. So do
Yeah,
you have, yeah, go ahead.
of course. It's on TikTok and it's Greg F, Greg, then a capital F, or it's King Greg F is the username. I'm only there right now. I do plan to make the switch to have more of a YouTube presence as well, and um, also on Instagram. But for right now, TikTok is kind of the way to go.
Mhm. Mhm. And amazing. They're so funny and they're so clever. And Greg has a really, I think it's a talent. He's very succinct, but he's really, really good at explaining everything from the basics of conscious manifestation all the way to like more complex topics. So I hope you guys really will get on that TikTok and you'll follow him because it packs a punch for being those videos being as short as they are. So I love it. And I
Thank
feel
you.
like I've manifested this conversation. Um,
Oh,
and I just want to tell the viewers, I actually, Greg was one of the first friends I met in a kind of a manifesting group that we're in. And I couldn't get into the group. And I remember sending a kind of desperate SOS, and he was the only person that answered it.
yeah.
And I have been watching him and following him ever since. So I really do feel like I manifested this. But yeah,
Oh, for
I'm
sure.
speechless. I can't believe we're doing this. I'm excited.
Oh, thank you. Yes, me too.
um, so Greg, the listeners kind of know my backstory a little bit. I'm a certified life coach, and I found conscious manifesting, you know, the way that we all do because there was something that I wanted that I felt like I was missing, and I felt like conscious manifesting was going to get me there. And when I started getting into it and I started learning more about Neville Goddard and law of assumption, I really I found so much more than I was expecting. I found a whole
Mhm,
different lifestyle, a different way of looking at life. And
mhm.
I was wondering, we don't have to get too into the weeds, of course, but was there could you share just a little bit about the beginning of your journey? Just so I think people could definitely relate, because I
Yeah,
find
of
that we're
course.
all at the same place in a way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think we kind of find our way, like you said. We find that we're missing something, or something just eludes us, and we can't quite figure out why can't we have this, what's going on, and you go searching for answers. And I'm a firm believer in we get this type of information when we're ready for it. So, like a lot of people, I found my way through, uh, of course, from TikTok and YouTube, from Law of Attraction. Like I've also read The Secret and all that, and it was
Hmm.
very mumbo jumbo-y kind of. I didn't really follow it all that much, but then I found the Law of Assumption, and it kind of clicked for me, and it really opened my eyes. Like you said, it's not just to get the thing, it's a total reboot of us.
Yeah. Yeah. And we had spoke a little bit about this, before we started the episode, but what I found is the more I get into the state and understanding what that means, I realized that so many things are connected together. Different books I had read as in college, or as a teenager, where I didn't really understand what they were talking about, but they were really talking about manifestation. They used different words, maybe they were talking euphemistically, but it was the same thing.
Hmm.
I remember reading Psycho-Cybernetics in college. A professor had recommended it, and it was all about reprogramming your mind, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I think back on that book now, and I realize, oh, that was basically just rewriting your story. That was
Yep.
just changing your narrative. I just didn't understand what that meant. I didn't understand what it means to think about your brain as like a computer that you can kind of reprogram or overhaul.
Hmm.
And it was
Hmm.
only now that I have the filter and the perspective of manifestation that I can really understand it and kind of see all these little bridges that kind
Hmm.
of got me here. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting because there is, of course, that overlap that people, I don't know why they kind of drew lines in the sand, but there is a lot of overlap. And it doesn't really necessarily need to be there. But if you can get down to the basics of your thoughts, your dominant beliefs, your assumptions are the thing that will create around you and let it happen, then you can practically create whatever you want for yourself. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
And I think that is, you know, in our manifesting group, we talk about this, but how we are limitless, right?
Hmm.
And what I love about your TikToks and the amazing advice that you give is that you always kind of you focus it on that limitlessness. Sometimes I like to say, we're made out of stardust, really, if you think about it. The fact that we're alive and we're on this planet is kind of a miracle in a lot of ways, and I think we forget that. And so, if we can remember that that's who we are, that we are limitless, that we're stardust, then you're absolutely right. We can get everything that we want,
Yep. And
absolutely anything. Hmm.
in my view, there's the only the only limitation that should ever come up is the fact that we are flesh and bone. That's the only limitation. Everything else,
Yeah,
it's free reign. Go for
yeah,
it.
I agree. And I just I know you and I kind of agree on this as well, which makes me I'm just chuffed about that. But I know that there's a lot of people on YouTube and TikTok, who are maybe a little bit newer to the process, or because they're on their own journey, right? And they're
Mhm.
at a certain point in their journey. But there's a lot of pushback, and I have a lot of people who listen to the podcast, and they they really worry about the SP manifestation, right? They feel
Mhm.
like, is it possible? Am I controlling them? I have people who they are so upset with themselves if they feel like they make a mistake, right? They're
Mhm.
so hard on
Yeah.
themselves.
Mhm.
And I know I can relate to that. And the listeners know because I've shared a little bit about my SP manifestations, but it took me a really long time to realize that kind of the technique isn't important. To be honest with you, the SP is not important. The only thing that matters is not only how I feel about the situation, but like we just discussed, us remembering who we are in that situation.
Mhm.
And I love your TikToks because you always kind of push that idea as well. And that just makes me so happy to see that.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where this is us. We are the only ones that we have. And
Mhm.
if we're not going to have a little bit of levity, if but grounded in certain facts that we know, then you're gonna burn yourself out.
Yeah.
This is not to get something. This is to get yourself. Then everything else will conform around you. I like to use, like I'm a video game guy, so I say
Mhm,
that
mhm.
we're already the complete video games. Everything else is just DLC.
Yes,
Okay? Like
I love
they'll
that.
they'll add it on and it might enhance things, it might do certain things for you, but we are complete.
Mhm.
Everything else is just stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Great stuff, but stuff.
Yeah, and I'm pretty candid about it, but it took me months to get to that point, and I
Mhm,
really burned out. You know, Greg, I don't remember if you remember me telling you this, but after about 6 months of painstakingly managing every thought, at least I thought I was, and watching every single thing that I was saying, living in delusion at times, honestly, I at the time I didn't realize it, but looking back, I was, definitely had moments of that. I completely just I didn't like give up on manifesting or necessarily the manifestation, but I had to walk away from it, from all of the
mhm,
techniques. I
mhm,
literally got to a point where I said, I can't live like this anymore because watching every thought, watching every word that comes out of my mouth towards people because I'm terrified I'm going to, speak something into existence that, isn't going to work out well in my favor, and uh, this is so hilarious, but I'll admit it to you and the view and the listeners. I was the person that would I tried setting a plate
mm,
at the dinner table. I was that
okay.
person. Not every
Mhm,
single night, but I would call it like my date night or something like that, or my like business dinner day or something, and I would set it. And I didn't have expectations of an instant manifestation, but I thought, if I do this every day for 4 months, like, of course, like it's gonna work.
yeah.
And
Mhm,
I would have all of these techniques, and I would still go to bed every single night disappointed,
yeah.
because I would wake up in the morning and I was like, today's the day, I'm going to get everything that I want. It's going to be a great day. And I would hold that expectation and I would get to a point where I would crash
Yeah.
and I'd have to raise myself up and crash. And after about 6 months of doing that, I realized that I was actually worse off
Mhm,
emotionally than I was. And I had to stop. I had to stop. I was
mhm,
at burnout. And I started telling myself, I believe things are going to work out for me.
mhm,
I don't know how. I obviously can't control when, but I think they're going to work out. And it's okay if I can't see it right now.
mhm,
And it's okay that I don't have any proof because I don't need proof to just walk away.
yeah.
I don't need to do any of these techniques. Everything's still going to work out. I would have to repeat that over and over until I finally got to the point where I could start believing those words and I was
Mhm,
comfortable with them. And that's really what got the ball moving for me.
mhm,
And, you know, the reason I say that is I'm not one of those coaches that recommends burning out. There are coaches that, believe it or not, do believe that. They
yeah.
I think as a like kind of a way to fast track,
Yeah.
but I'm not one of those people because I don't think it has to hurt that much, right? It has to
Mm-mm.
be as painful as all that. And I
No.
think I experienced that pain and that heartache so that the people that I work with don't ever have to do that.
Yeah.
And yeah, and so my question for you is, did you have something like that where you just got burned out and you stopped, or were you, you know, kind of like a wunderkind and you kind of just like got it right away and you had that like real clicky moment and it was just like everything snapped into place?
Well, I didn't really have a burnout per se. I did have some major doubts, some major 3D stuff that just kind of blew up in my face, and
Mhm.
we always think, oh God, this is the opposite of what I wanted. Well, how did this happen now? What in my self concept do I have to go back to now? But it wasn't so much that, it was the faith in general. You know what I mean?
Mm.
It wasn't
Yeah.
specifically anything really to do with um, a circumstance or anything else. It was just, I know what I want and I have to stick to it. And
Yeah.
so that's when I stopped kind of paying attention, I guess, to unfavorable stuff. And
Mhm.
it's not like it didn't hurt, but at the same time, it didn't affect me either because I was like, okay, I have to make the conscious decision that no matter what, I am getting what I want. No matter what,
Yeah.
whatever I do is working, just like you said.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
that's what a lot of people, like you said, they burn out because they're doing all these techniques, the affirmations, the visualizations, the SATs, the
Mhm.
the scripting and everything, and then they look up and they're like, well, I've done all this. I kind of believe it, but where is it? And it's just you have to get that underlying belief of everything is already mine. It's already made. I don't have to do anything else. I really don't.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
and that's
Yeah.
that's the flip in my mind when I stopped affirming for things and I just sat with myself and I focused inward at the state. And I said,
Mm.
I know whatever I want, I'm going to get eventually. I don't really care about
Yeah.
the now. I'm going to get through the now because I've always gotten through the now because we
Mhm.
that's what we do.
Mhm. Yep.
And to say that this is already in the past, what we're seeing, what we're experiencing, it's already done. We already thought
Yeah.
this ages ago. It's probably a long time
Yeah.
coming. So now we just have to get
Mhm.
through it. We have to know what we want and know that we're going to get it because we're constantly doing it anyway. So might as well.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I love that you said that. That's incredible. And it's so great because I just love hearing the peace in your voice when you talk about that. And it's I just yeah, like that's it. What Greg just said everything that you need to know, which is that you need to make a choice. And it's a choice that at first it feels like you're constantly having to make, right? One thing will pop up and you have to make the choice. You'll get a negative thought and you have to make the choice. But after a while, it just becomes second nature. Choosing yourself becomes second nature. And I think that I posted a TikTok myself earlier yesterday, and it was something that was in a book called Living Untethered. And it was talking about how part of detaching and letting go, not only of your manifestations, but of limiting beliefs, is you have to change kind of your relationship with your brain.
Yeah.
And like I told you, I kind of just had to like talk myself into being like everything's gonna work out for me. It's okay. But the other thing is, I actually realized that my brain, it was, and it was just telling me something that I already knew. That's
Hmm.
all it can do. It doesn't predict the future for me. It's just taking data from unfortunate negative things that have happened in the past. It's
Hmm.
compiling them together in like a little film reel, and it's just
Hmm.
playing them for me because it thinks that if I can get all the information possible, I'm not going to do something dumb that's going to make me
Yeah.
feel even worse.
Yeah.
And I really had to realize that's all it's doing. It's
Hmm.
not predicting the future for me. It's not even really making a decision for me. I'm still making the decision, right? But what it's doing is it's just providing a service.
Yeah.
And once I started thinking of it that way, I realized I cannot listen to my brain if I don't want to. I
Hmm.
can say no. And eventually it will learn that I don't want the information and it stops giving it to me.
Yep.
But until then, it's just me kind of practicing how to say no.
Hmm.
And I don't know if you ever had anything like that. People call it their ego, right? Or self concept work. Did you have a lot of self concept work or ego stuff
Oh
to kind
yeah.
of deal with when you first started?
I think even now, I think we deal with ego
Mhm.
constantly. Um, Especially in the beginning. Yeah, I had some pretty unfavorable stories of romance, of relationships, of love. I mean, I grew up in a pretty good household. There
Hmm.
wasn't any trauma. I've had a lot of health issues, but there wasn't a lot of relationship type things. And for me, everything relates back to each other. I
Hmm.
constantly felt that because of my ailments, even though I unconsciously I didn't know anything about law of assumption or law of attraction or anything. I like I've said in the group, I basically said in the hospital, um, no, I'm gonna get over whatever you guys throw at me. You can do whatever you want to me. I'm gonna get over this. Don't worry. But I always had that through thought. But later on, when it came to romantic type stuff, I constantly had a through line of, well, who's going to want me? I'm
Hmm.
already broken. I might be confident, I might be charismatic, but nobody's going to want to put up with this. Nobody's going to
Yeah.
want to love me, and that's really what I had to work on.
Yeah.
Um, and even now, I mean, there are times where I do go a little bit backward a bit, but then uh, the new story kind of takes over. And it's
Yeah.
like, wait, aren't you've been saying that we're perfect the way that we are, that we're wanted and chosen. I mean, is that not? Oh, yes, that's what we want. That's what we are. Okay, okay. And
Exactly.
that
Yeah.
then it goes around from there. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And thank you for sharing that, by the way. I really appreciate it. And I know our listeners, they're really going to appreciate it too, because um and the reason why I bring that up, and I've talked about sort of my self concept stuff as well, but I was adopted, and
mm,
unconsciously, because I was never embarrassed about being adopted, and I was very open about it, to friends and other people in my life. But I always felt like, and I can see it now, but it always felt like I needed someone else who wasn't me to tell me it was okay, that
yeah,
they are going to be stick around, that they
yeah,
cared about me. Even if whatever I did, if someone else didn't co-sign that, or they didn't feel like it was something special, it didn't feel special to me. Even if I liked it, even if it was something I enjoyed or something I thought I was good at. And I let that run me for a long time. And I really had to work on that. And for me, it kind of manifested itself in I have I have a lot of boundary stuff. I
hmm,
didn't realize, but I would put up these weird kind of boundaries with people, and also with myself. But then I would also be very lax about boundaries in other ways as well,
yeah,
because I didn't really want it to be left or
mhm,
rejected. And when it came to business relationships and romantic relationships, obviously it played against me, in a lot of ways, because I would attract people in, or I would assume people in, right? And then I would have all these different types of boundaries, and eventually that would kind of neutralize our relationship.
yeah,
And instead of me fighting for it, or me standing up for myself, and saying this is what I want, I would just accept it, because of course, this is what always happens. Like, I get it, almost like I thought that was all I deserved in a way.
mm, mhm,
And it was what manifesting gave to me. And when I say it's like a lifestyle, is I
mhm,
was really able to see that that's what I was doing. And regardless of anything that I've manifested or I'm working on, that is priceless. Just being
oh God, yeah,
aware of that, and
hmm,
and being aware of the fact that I can do something about that, that has
hmm,
meant the world to me. And
yeah,
I really, because I think a lot of times our our listeners, and probably with some of the people that follow you on TikTok as well, I think we want the thing so much because of what it means to us,
yes,
and what we think it says about us, or what we think it's like an achievement. And
hmm,
the truth is, that feeling of peace in your heart, that is the first movement. That is the
yeah,
first bit of movement, right?
hmm,
And it's not something you can see, but it's there, and it gives you so much comfort. And
yeah,
yeah, so I really appreciate you sharing that, and
yeah.
sharing that little part of yourself.
And like I say, I think I've mentioned it to you before. This
Hmm.
me here, you wouldn't have recognized me a year and a half ago. I would never have done this. I would never have even made a TikTok. I would have been a nameless, faceless account. I I simply didn't think I had anything to contribute. And it wasn't until law of assumption or conscious
Hmm.
manifestation in general that, like you said, we do see those cycles and it's like, wow, that's not me. That's not somebody that I want to be,
Yeah.
but I know that I can change it. I know that
Yeah.
I'm capable.
Hmm.
And being charismatic and being confident is different from being self-assured, from being absolutely understood and absolutely wanted and chosen, not only by
Yeah.
yourself, everybody else. So,
And I think that, first of all, I'm so grateful that you found manifesting just for us, because when I first, started talking to you in the group, you were incredibly full of life, so charismatic, like you said. And I think that if you weren't on TikTok, it so many people would be missing out. And I'm just really grateful that you decided to make that and decided to choose you, and and realize that you're worth this, and like more success and all the success, right? And I'm kind of with you on that too, because when I first started all of this, I had a partner that I was working with, and I I felt when we decided to kind of go our separate ways, because we had different opinions on where where our business was going. Basically, they wanted
mhm,
to talk more about the science. I wanted to talk more about spirituality, and it was kind of a clean break.
mhm,
Um, and that devastated me, because it felt like, how can I do this by myself? I need someone to validate, my ideas and my thoughts. And why did I choose to die on this hill, so to speak? I should have just changed my mind, and I should have just agreed with her. And what I realized is that that was probably the first step of my self-conscious really being like, no, you really believe in this stuff. You've seen it, it works.
mhm,
Okay, we're not going back on that. And even
mhm,
if it means doing this by yourself, because you can do it by yourself. And that was the first step for me. That was a huge boundary for me, and it was one of the first boundaries I've ever really enforced in a business type way. And so I completely agree with you. And yeah, I don't know, Greg. I can't imagine you not. I don't know, not. I can't imagine you not saying anything. Honestly, it's like I can't even see it, because I think you're like kind of like born for it in a way.
yeah, that old man is dead and buried. So,
Mhm.
like I say, it's one of those things where I really did have to separate the confidence from what's going on inside because I was always the charismatic one, the confident one, but I would say a one-liner or something in the middle of a party, but then I'd slink back into the corner. But now I'm
Mhm.
like, no, no, I deserve my place. I know where I should be. And
Yeah.
it's not a cockiness, it's a self-assuredness. And
Yeah.
I try to explain like the difference between cockiness and what we do because we can go into something saying it's automatically going to go my way and
Mhm.
depending on who is who's hearing you basically they go automatically to oh aren't you pompous it's like no pompous would be I'm going to bulldoze over everybody but self-assuredness is no I'm patiently waiting because I already know it's mine. I already know
Yeah.
this version of me is already here. I'm just accessing it. I'm just letting it
Mhm.
happen. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Exactly. You're letting your energy, and the way that you're so tuned in to that, you're letting that change the pace,
Mhm,
right? You're trusting that your idea, that your words, that your actions are so right in that moment, that everyone else is going to respond to that. Because that's I've tried to kind of break it down for people. And really, when we say conscious manifesting, I love the spirituality, of course, but
Mhm.
what we're really doing is we're just focusing. We're taking our will, we're taking our attention and we're focusing where it wants to go. And we're focusing so hard that nothing is going to get in the way of that. And that's really what we're doing. And when
Mhm.
something flashes before your eyes, kind of like a deer in the headlights moment, it's okay, right? Because moving through that is part of the journey. Okay.
Mhm.
So you just take yourself up, you take that deep breath and you just move through your stress. It's just not letting the stress stop you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Hmm.
So now that we've got into the deep stuff and we just love each other, I did want to ask you some fun questions.
Oh, sure.
When you first started consciously manifesting, you're probably like me, where you're kind of testing the law out. You're not really sure if it works. What was that first thing that you manifested where you were like, oh my God, I did this? Like, it's not a coincidence. This is real. I'm powerful. I'm owning this. What was the first sort of thing you did? It can be something small, it can be something big. I thought our
Well,
listeners want to know.
my, I guess I would say the first like testing it out. Um,
Mhm.
I mean, I do have my SP. I mean, that's the big thing. But when testing it
Dang,
out,
Greg. Oh my God.
but the
I was
first
thinking for like a
testing.
rainbow, but okay. Look at you.
We can go to that end, but like I was gonna say, like the first instance of me saying, "Oh no, this is definitely real," for me was just those little tiny tests of, okay, you want to see a certain make and color of car, you want to see a flower, you want to see a butterfly, or as Neville would do the ladder test or something. Um, it was for me, it was a red Jeep. I was on a very um, long road trip with a couple of my friends, and there we were in like I'm in Canada, and we were in northern Ontario. There's next to absolute nothing up there. I mean, not even a Tim Hortons or McDonald's for miles type of thing.
Hmm.
And I said, you know what? I'm going to see a red uh, hat, like a softback Jeep. I know I'm going to see
Mm.
that. It's not. There's no doubt. I'm gonna test this out. I I don't care about timing. I don't. We have a lot of time. I don't care about the how. I'm gonna see that. And
Hmm.
it kind of went out of my head for a bit. We started talking or whatever, and out in the middle of nowhere was a Dodge Jeep dealership, and you should have seen the row of red Jeeps that we came across. I was just
Yes.
like, "Oh my God." So, yeah, that was the very first instance, and of course, as I said, I do have my SP.
Of
That
course.
was
That's
the
the best.
long game.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, I was one of those people that fought manifestation, kicking and screaming. The videos would come up on YouTube, and I would just be like, "This isn't real. This is just like magic." And oh my God. But then I was like, you know what? What have I got to lose? Let me
Mhm.
manifest a cup of coffee. Everyone says you should try something simple.
Yep.
I'm gonna do that. I wrote it down. I forgot about it. I was sitting in a cafe waiting for my drink. I didn't order a coffee. I think I ordered like a matcha or something. And
Hey.
the girl comes up to me and she says, "You know what? You've been so patient. You've been such a good customer. I brought you your matcha latte, but we just really want to give you a free cup of coffee.
Oh,
Can I get you a free cup of coffee?" Like
sure.
she was forcing it on me, you know? And I
Mhm.
remember thinking to myself, "Oh my God."
Mhm.
Because if you had asked me 2 weeks ago, what are the ways that you could get a free cup of coffee? I would have said, oh, maybe someone spilled something on me. Maybe someone gives me a gift card.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Starbucks points or something. I never would have thought someone would have just walked up to me and just told me that I was a patient person and here's some coffee.
Mhm.
So it would never have occurred. And I realized at that point, oh my God, like I can do this. this is real. This isn't a coincidence. This
Mhm.
is this is crazy, but true. I'm gonna do
Yep.
it. And
Yep.
yeah, then of course I laser focused a little too hard on my SP, and that
Yeah.
didn't come in for about 7 more months after that. But still, it did come through. It did
Mhm.
come through. Kind of also in a crazy way, but yeah, that was my first moment where I realized it was real and I
Oh,
could
yeah.
trust it. Yeah,
And the
yeah,
other thing is how our we don't have to do anything. How
yeah.
like you said, um, logically, this is how something would happen, but
Hmm.
it's like, "No, no, your subconscious has got this. It knows what to do already. It knows what you want. So your manifestations, whatever you're dominantly thinking, will automatically start chasing you.
Hmm.
And that's one of the things that I really, for a while, SP related, like, do I text them? Do I do this? Do I post something on Instagram to get their attention? Do I do this? And
Yep.
after a while, once I started really going in with my self concept, really getting into the state of, no, no,
Hmm.
you're good the way you are. You're gonna get whatever you want. It's
Hmm.
absolutely fine. Just sit back. You're
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. I agree with you completely. Once I burned out, I hit rock bottom, so to speak, and I just was like, what, I can't devote my life to this anymore because it's actually making me like more miserable and sad.
Mhm.
I actually accepted a dinner invitation with someone else, and we went to a different town because they had heard that this restaurant was amazing, and we have to go here. So at the time, I was so ambivalent. I just wanted to go to dinner to get out of the house. I was still kind of thinking about the manifestation, but every time it would pop into my head, I'd say those affirmations,
Mhm.
and it got to the point where on the day of the dinner, I hadn't thought really about my SP manifestation like in like maybe a day. And that
Mhm.
had been a landmark for me. I'd never really been able to do that.
Mhm.
And so we went to dinner, it was fine. And we were walking past this ice cream shop. And I said, this looks like a shop that I used to go to. They have gelato. We should go there. And
Mhm.
the person I was with me was like, sure, yeah, why not? Let's get ice cream. We went. Greg, I ordered. We sat down at a table by the window because I was like, let's people watch, while we're doing it. It'll be fun. Who walks in but SP number one? Who
There
walks
you
in?
go. Mhm.
Yep. He saw me, and I I had all these scenarios in those 6 months that I'd played out of like, you know, everything from like him coming to my door, playing with the boombox moment, very, 80s movie, all
Oh,
the
yeah.
way to like desperate text messages at the middle of the night. I never would have thought he would have found me in an ice cream shop in a different town, okay, while I was having dinner with someone else. That was not
Mm.
how I pictured it. And so he walked up to me and we had a conversation, and I knew again, like, oh my God, I literally did this. The
Mhm.
one day I didn't think about it. The one day I
Mhm.
didn't think about it. And it's like you said, we don't have to chase. Like we
No.
are that powerful. Our brains, our spirits, our emotions, they all kind of mix together and they make it happen for us.
Mhm.
We don't have to do anything. And yeah, I love that. Thank you for telling that story. I love it.
Hmm.
And
Yep.
I have another question, another fun one.
Go for it.
Um, so yeah, we talked about our first manifestations. Is there like a favorite? Do you have like a favorite technique other than just getting in the state, of course, but kind of like a shortcut technique? That when you look back now, when you were kind of manifesting for the first time, kind of like your first baby steps into it. Do you have a technique that you just really stand by and you remember very fondly?
Yes, I'm a big visualizer.
Mm.
I love see I'm very visual person. I'm very auditory person as well. So if I can put even YouTube meditation music on or something, and I visualize things, like I said, I saw the red Jeeps in my head
Mhm.
before
Mhm.
we actually saw them. I saw certain things about my SP um, before he showed up. Even now, I still do. This is, like you said, this is a lifestyle. And so I
Mhm.
still do certain things in my head with SP, and I still do my self concept and everything. Um, but things that I can imagine, they, I'd say nine, yeah, maybe 8 or 9 times out of 10,
Mhm.
that or something like that will pop up. A conversation
That's awesome.
or some like he says something or something happens um, because I've totally released that resistance because I'm
Yeah.
comfortable with myself.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think even in our group, um, Kimberly, she
Mhm.
actually said, I can literally say, in my head, like, oh, I want ice cream. And an hour or so later, my SP is getting me ice cream, that kind of thing,
Mm. Yeah.
because there is no resistance. And because you have the basis of the belief that this stuff naturally happens to me, this is just who I am. So, of course, it's
Yeah.
going to project out. So
Yeah.
that's where I am as well. Now, do I still have certain things that I
Mhm.
know I need to work on? Of course. Money, uh, and living situations and stuff like that are kind of at the top of my to-do list. But even that, I'm just like, okay, I'll still get it. I can change my beliefs in it, but
Yeah.
I can still admit it. Admitting is the first step to changing.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so funny that you say that because I was so laser focused on, the SP situations, both with making things okay with my former business partner and with the two romantic inclined SPs, um, that I'd been spending so much time on that, on like recreating them, that I realized that I needed to do work the same way as you, like on kind of sort of the more practical stuff around me. And I'm kind of learning about, who I am in that way as a business person and as a life coach more and more. So I can totally relate to that. On the plus side, though, it is once you get the SP stuff figured out, and if that's your driving thing, which it was for me, I feel a lot better about everything else. So that I think that
Hmm.
that kind of the resistance there too, because I just have more natural faith in it. But Greg mentioned Kimberly. Kimberly is sort of our sort of mentor. We're in a group with her. So in case anybody was wondering, I've mentioned her before, but just I wanted to give that context for any first time listeners. And yeah, but yeah, Greg, I love that. And the money, Greg, by the way, it's going to come in so fast for you. I'm not just saying that because I'm your friend. I'm just saying that if someone has been following your TikTok since you had like 10 people following you, now you
Yep.
have hundreds of people following you. Okay. And this is not a long time. It has not taken this man a long time to do that. So
No.
yeah, you're well on your way there. So,
Yeah, I was actually our other friend Brittany. I
mm,
actually said to her the other day, she's doing great guns with her TikTok as well.
yes,
Um,
yes, yes.
I literally said to her offhandedly, I said, you know what? This time tomorrow night, I'm going to get 150 new followers. I already know it. I already know it's already there. They're already there. I can see the number. It's all good. And literally 23 hours and 40 minutes later, I'm up
No.
to almost 155 new followers.
Oh my
So good.
God. That's
Because there's
incredible.
it's one of those things where you really truly just have to let go of the ego. You have to talk yourself off that ledge and say, no, you know what?
Mhm.
We don't need logic in this right now.
Yeah.
It will come in logically. I know that, and it will happen logically, but this stuff as a basis is absolutely real, and
Hmm.
this is how it's going to be,
Yeah.
and just let it happen.
Yeah.
So,
And for me, when I talk about the living in kind of delusion, one of the things is I had worked with a different coach because I wanted to incorporate manifesting into the life coaching. So I thought I have to learn from someone who has a lot of followers. I have to learn from someone who has a program. And when I started that, it did give me certain limiting beliefs, I'll admit. And one of them was that kind of delusional feeling where I felt like I don't want people to reflect my fear, so I can't tell them what's actually going on, even though I feel like I'm lying. So it's kind of defeating the purpose of that. And I understand the technique, but at the time I realized like I was not strong enough to really see it for what it was. So I always try to tell all of our listeners that it's okay if you tell people what's going on. It's okay if you think you messed up. It's
mhm,
okay if you cry, if you give in to your feelings. When I really started doing self concept stuff and realizing I have so much stuff with my birth parents and, real kind of deep, I wouldn't even call it anger because anger would imply kind of a deep, like unreleased kind of feeling. It was more like I had so many negative stories about them that because of past experiences, quote unquote. And
yeah,
I had to kind of unravel that. And I did get angry during parts of
mhm,
that. I did get very sad. And I would be lying if I said that at times I thought, oh my God, how strongly I'm feeling all these emotions, I'm not going to get my manifestation. I'm not going to get these new different types of relationships. And
yeah,
what I realized is it's okay because
mhm,
even being able to recognize that you are still there, you're still moving through the stress, you're still doing you, but you're
mhm,
letting go of a lot of things. Like
yeah,
crying for me and even just having moments of anger where I'd run around the neighborhood or I would kind of cry, anger, laugh, what I mean
mhm,
when those moments you just don't know what you're feeling.
yep,
It was me putting boundaries because I was
mhm,
experimenting. I was allowing myself freedom to actually say how I'm feeling, not how
mhm,
people want me to feel or how I think I would be better accepted if I felt a certain way. I was actually just saying how I feel in this moment.
yeah,
And that was letting go. So
mhm,
letting go doesn't mean necessarily doing everything the Neville Goddard way or doing everything, Abraham Hicks way. Because I know a lot of people listen to Abraham Hicks. This is a lifestyle. You're taking techniques and tips that other people give you and you're practicing with them. And it's
mhm,
okay if it takes time because you've got all the time in the world because it's already done. And that's
mhm,
that like magic loophole.
yeah,
There's no clock anymore. You're not trying to like beat anybody at anything anymore,
mhm,
right? You already did it.
mhm,
And all you're doing now is just making it easy for you to see it. And that's it. And
mhm,
I feel like that was a real gift. And I remember one of the first group meetings with you. I feel like I complimented you a lot, just to give you another compliment. I I remember I had a moment with SP2. So I decided that for me, I want my SPs to kind of be the way that I want them to be. I want to have better relationships with them. And I remember I was having an issue with one, and I was like, but is this me not wanting the manifestation anymore? And I remember what you said to me, and I will never forget it because it pops into my head sometimes. You were like, no, that's not you not wanting it. It's just your ego. You're trying to
yeah,
convince yourself you don't want it because you feel like it's going to be too hard.
mhm,
And I remember thinking to myself, my mind was blown because I was like,
mhm,
I've been doing this for I have that, where I need to check myself. Where I was like, you're right. That was exactly what I was doing. Absolutely. I can see it now.
mhm,
I'm clearly trying to convince myself of something. I'm trying to talk myself out of wanting something because I'm scared. I think you said it's
Yeah.
because you have the fear. And
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. And it made me laugh. And to this day, sometimes because sometimes when your SP's in your face and they're being irritating,
Mhm.
it's kind of hard to like remember that you love them sometimes, right?
Yep. Hmm.
And I remember I just had that pop into my head where I was like, it's not that you don't want your SP, you're just upset with them, but it's fine because they're gonna reconform. And I remember thinking to myself, yeah, it's just fear. It's fear. But
Yeah, because
yeah, I love
that
that.
was, yeah, that was my initial, when I started reading Neville and Dr. Joseph Murphy, and I also read Psycho-Cybernetics and everything. It
Yes.
was the separating the emotion from the feeling and really dissecting that part of it, because the emotion isn't the thing that's going to manifest for you
Mhm.
unless you
Yep.
you give it that power. If you want shit, you will get shit. But nobody
Mhm.
wants that. So you
Mhm.
can disregard it. You can let that go. And now I'm glad that people are, like you said, they are paying a little bit more attention to the ego, because that is kind of almost the roadblock for some people. That's the wall, because it in and of itself is something that keeps us in cycles. It
Mhm.
That's why we get those, oh, we're about to fall asleep, but then you got embarrassed by a story from the third grade, even though you've reconciled it, you know it's not your fault, but it pops up for some reason. And that's your ego saying, hey, remember this? You don't want to go through that again. We're not going to go through
Yeah.
that. So now this means danger. Whenever you see this means danger. And it's like,
Mhm.
no, it's not. It's absolutely fine. We are safe in our new selves. We are absolutely safe in our desires,
Mhm.
because it's inevitable for them to show up for us. It's absolutely inevitable. And
Yeah.
I know that there's a lot of people that put time frames on stuff. I don't believe
Mhm.
in those. I think every time, every time, every time we bring in time, it just creates a little bit more resistance for us.
Mhm.
And I do like I said, I like certain meditation music, and I do my own affirmations now. I've recorded my affirmations and stuff like that.
Nice. Nice.
But I did uh, the YouTube type, just general affirmations. And they would always preface things with, now make sure you listen to this constantly for at least 21 days or 6 weeks or whatever. And now that I'm at this part of my journey, they always say for that information to sink into the subconscious. But I think
Right.
it's actually our ego that needs the little easing into it. I think because our
Mhm.
subconscious is constantly on, even when we're
Yeah.
sleeping, it's
Yep.
on all the time.
Yep.
And it has no choice but to say yes to everything
Mhm.
that we tell it. So I
Mhm.
think that those numbers that they give us are just to be like, we're saying that it's going into your subconscious, but you're actually picking this up pretty easily. It's your ego that you need
Mhm.
to say, you know what, we're safe, we're secure,
Yeah.
we can be, do, and have whatever we want.
Yeah. Yeah. And I completely agree with you on the time thing. I think for me, I think I work with a lot of clients who are doing SP stuff, or
Hmm.
they're doing, different. I work with certain business clients who they're trying to manifest certain business deadlines and promote
Hmm.
like promotions and raises. And it's like, but everybody else got this promotion in 3.5 years, and it's been 4.5, and I'm already behind schedule. And they'll have that refrain and it's really when they look at, why do I feel like I don't get it in 3.5 years, I'm just not never going to get it.
Yeah.
And once they look at it, or if I don't get my SP, the client of self-help books and about dating, uh,
Hmm.
masculine and feminine and stuff like that. And it was really hard for her to. She felt that she was too masculine. She was a very successful business person and she was too masculine. So she was never going to be able to get the guy that she wanted because he didn't like women who were too masculine. And it was only until she started kind of examining what that meant and why she was so desperate to believe that she was able to understand that she had put herself in a weird restrictive time frame that didn't make any sense because at the end of the day, we've kind of experienced this now because we've done it for a while, but okay, after the end of 6 months, did I still want my SP? Yes. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I was not going to stop wanting him after 6 months. So why is it that if I don't get it within 6 months, then I just have to give up on it? That doesn't make sense. If we are getting married, right? If you want to have a marriage with someone or if you want to have a lasting business partnership, that's 20, 25 years, 30, that 6 months is nothing, right? 2 months
Hmm.
is nothing.
Hmm.
Um, and so once you start thinking of it that way, I think you're kind of like, wow, I'm just really putting a lot of pressure on myself for no reason.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to prove something I already kind of know to myself, and that's
Hmm.
kind of and that I think for me had a lot to do with my limiting beliefs. And
Hmm.
like you said, it was my ego that just like needed to be coddled and
Hmm.
like put in a little baby blanket almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I love the
Yeah.
visualizing. I love that.
Hmm.
Are you do you believe in SAT? Are you one of those coaches that
Um,
believes in SAT?
I believe basically that everybody really does learn their own way, and it like for me, like I said, the visualization is the thing. So I guess that could be kind of parlayed into SATs.
Mhm.
Um, but I don't feel the need to go into that alpha state or that pre-sleep state or anything like that.
Right.
I know some people that could go for hours and stuff like that, and I'm like, "No, I would fall asleep within 10 minutes. So I don't know what you guys are doing, but I don't I don't really like to say this way or that way. I think it's part of the self-concept journey that you really
Mhm.
do learn what resonates for you, not not just the through the affirmations of your limiting beliefs or anything else. It's literally how do you learn? How will this sink in for you? Um, and once things start to move along, things will just, click. And
Yeah. Yeah.
you just have to let them. You know what I mean? I can't
Yep.
I don't think I can say that enough because that was one of my things where just like you, I had that stranglehold on this one thing, and if this one thing didn't happen, then everything else is BS. But it's
Mhm.
really not. It's us.
Yeah.
And if you can keep things a little bit more general, but customized to your kind of general, then that's
Mhm.
where you're really going to flourish.
Yeah. And I completely agree with you. I think sometimes we can get really focused in on kind of the latest technique
Hmm.
or techniques that are a little bit more popular. And I know SATs are really popular. So a lot of people will ask me if I do SATs. When I first started manifesting, I did try SATs, and
Hmm.
I didn't actually dislike them, but I found that for me, um, I'm kind of like you. I like to visualize things, and
Hmm.
I would visualize whole scenes of things, where you know, kind of like what Neville Goddard says, like you'll have a scene where you can imagine that something has already happened, and this scene is the amalgamation or the end, kind of a representation of the end that you want.
Hmm.
And I would have whole scenes of that where I'd have all these conversations with my SP,
Hmm.
and that is fun. and that was a favorite. But for me, it was just really about, I would have those moments where I'd be like, oh, but it's been months, or, something like that, or he's annoying you, or, maybe this isn't going to work out. And now I can just go, you know what? Chill out. Okay. I know what I'm doing. I'm in control. Okay. I can choose, and I'm going to stick to what I know. And really just being able to self-soothe myself has really helped. But I'm kind of like you. I say throw everything but the kitchen sink at it, and see what you like, because everyone's different. And honestly, I've met people who don't like visualizing. They find that it's too tedious. Their mind tends to wander, and they don't like it. And that's fine. You might be one of those people that's into scripting, or you might be one of those people that really like stats, right? It's just your belief.
Yeah, and I find, especially now that I've really gotten into the TikTok community, the more
that's what it is. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the more that people affirm that something isn't working for them, you're manifesting that. So
Exactly.
give yourself a break, try everything, and that's the thing. This isn't a trying process. This is who you are. This is figuring out exactly what you want and who you are, your I am. And if you can at least get that out of this, even if you say, well, all these other affirmations are crap, I can't get the money, I can't get the SP, I can't get this. Yeah, but did you get to know you? Did you persist in that? Because that is what will bring you forward. And I've seen some stories now where people are like, well, I've completely given up. And years later, things started popping in that I didn't even realize that I thought about years earlier. And now I wish I would have just persisted, because I probably would have had it sooner. I dredged myself through all the BS of 3D of my lot in life, when I could have been having this and being this all along.
Yeah, you're so right. And when you really start to understand, the state more, and kind of self-concept, and we have a saying on this podcast where I like to say, you don't manifest what you want, you manifest what you are, right? And that's why you can get whatever you want, because you are all of that already. And I think when you really start understanding that a bit more, it's kind of like, why was I so willing to believe every crappy thing that I could ever think about myself before I could believe one nice thing about myself, right? Why did I feel like I needed to self-flagellate myself almost before I was allowed to have something nice or something good, something I actually deserved? And that's where the work is, right? That's the real resistance. It's kind of understanding that. It's being able to move through that. It's being able to see that about yourself, and just choosing to focus on something else, right? And that has been priceless for me. Even just feeling like, oh, I can actually ask Greg if he'd like to do kind of a Q&A, kind of an interview format. That's not something that it would have taken me weeks of agonizing over the exact way I was going to write the message, and what if I offend him? What if I worded it incorrectly? And because I like, pleasing you is my goal in that moment, right? Not actually having a moment with you, not actually enjoying you, not enjoying kind of where we both are on our journeys. It would have been all just about making sure that I wrote the right message. And that's what I would have manifested. I would have manifested a beautiful, very polite, well-crafted message, but maybe I wouldn't have gotten the interview. Maybe we wouldn't be friends. Because the truth is, most people don't want to be close with someone or friends with someone all the time who's just out to please them, right? You want to be friends with someone who is their own person. You want to be a coach from someone who is their own person, who has their own opinions. And so, yeah, I just relate so hard to that, and just I love it so much.
Yeah, and if this was still my old self-concept, I probably would have taken one look at any message you would have sent me and just went, ghost. Bye. Nope. Bye.
Yeah,
So, and that's the thing. I do know, um, because I've seen it, and it's hard to kind of pinpoint how to explain to people who are still on the edge with all of this, but
hmm
it's it's a believing before seeing type process.
yeah,
And but
yeah,
once things start popping in, it it will blow your mind that how fast
yeah,
things start to pop in. And like you said, the the time before, it seems like, why did I waste all that by doubting so much? Why did I switch techniques because I think it wasn't working for me? Why did I fear this?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
now I have what I want, and
hmm
I have the longevity because of who I am now.
Yeah, yeah. And it felt to me, when the manifestation started coming in, like I I don't know why I was hurting myself, because that's really what I was doing. Every
Mhm,
time I would doubt myself, every time I would freak out or panic or cry, yes, I was releasing tension at times, but other times I was just feeling sorry for myself. I can admit it.
mhm, mhm,
And I was doing all of that and I was hurting myself, because the truth is, we know in our hearts what we deserve. We know
yeah,
what we're worth, and we know that we can get it. And every single time we kind of knock ourselves down a peg, because for whatever reason, and we doubt the people around us, for whatever reason, we're kind of forgetting that, and it's kind of like, why did I forget that? Why did I forget? And I think what it is that, you know, for most of us, we have, for whatever reason, it's a habit almost to think about ourselves a certain way, and you really have to break that habit. And once we get comfortable breaking that habit, it's like, we talk about it in the group. Everything that you're getting, your 3D is just like a reflection of the past, right?
mhm,
So if
mhm,
you can start today working towards a 3D where you have everything that you want, when it catches up to you, it's going to be the same way. Oh, I got this because, August 30th of 2021, I made this decision. And it's weird how you can kind of logically even do it.
mhm,
Even if you don't, if you're one of those people and you're kind of just dipping your toe into this, and maybe it's just a little bit too woo woo, you like it, but you're scared, you can think about it rationally, even. Like,
yeah,
in order to get abs, you need to start doing crunches today. You're
mhm,
visualizing the abs. You know that that's what you want. You're focusing on that, right? And you're
mhm,
putting the work in today, so that 2 months down the line, 6 months down the line, depending on your resistance, you have them, right?
mhm,
So if you even need the rational a little bit to kind of get you started, it's there for you, because it is all
oh,
connected together. Yeah.
yep,
Yeah.
yep.
So,
It's quite interesting how much our brain lies to us, especially at the beginning. And
yeah.
if there's one piece of advice that I can give overall, is listen to your ego, even in those, especially in those worst times, like where those feelings are coming from, and just like we say in our group, ask yourself why. Ask yourself
hmm
why you think you can't get this. You dissect that. And I'm not talking about going, childhood traumas or anything like that. You don't have to
Yeah.
dredge up things. But if you can at least get to a point where you can soothe your ego, and let's face it, the odd time I'm all for talking my ego down, and treating it like the little kid, and say, no, no, we're on the right track now. This is us now. It's fine.
hmm
The odd time, oh, I want to backhand it. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
as long as you can get to a place where, no, this is who I am. I'm the person that can have this now. This is who I am, and I can have this.
Yep.
This is who I am. I am safe. So
Yeah.
it's as long as you can get there, I think you're I think you're pretty good and you're well on your way. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And so another kind of fun question, this one's a little bit more deep, but it's still fun, still fun.
mhm,
When you were on your journey and you started accomplishing it, you started getting closer to your goals, or they would come in, rather, your manifestations would come in, or you'd feel like you're on the bridge.
mhm.
Did you ever kind of was there ever a moment where you kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Because we talk about in our group sometimes feeling it in your body. Do you ever have a moments where you feel it in your body? Is that something that you kind of work on a little bit, or are you just, because I think that feeling in the body is super important and something that I still definitely feel, especially my emotions. But
Mhm.
I know how to get to the state, right? So I know how to
Yeah,
like go there now. But for
yeah.
those people who are, they know what they're doing,
Mhm,
in the sense that they have a good grasp on some techniques, but they're trying to manifest something big, right? The SP, the money, the
mhm.
promotion, the health. Um, is there, did you ever find that while you were doing something like that, you had a moment where you felt it in your body?
Are you talking like almost like a trigger, like to talk yourself down, or
Yeah,
are you talking?
yeah.
Oh, okay. Um,
Like where you knew it was about to snap into place. Because for me, for a long time, when the ego would kind of get to going, where I would, want to lash out in that moment, I could feel my shoulder blades tightening up, and that was like, oh, this is about to happen, and I can kind of just kind of nip it in the bud. Now
yeah.
before I even get to the shoulder blades thing, I'm like, oh, yep, this is, because I can, the mumbles and the grumbles, I can kind of feel the tremors, so to speak. But you know, for people who are kind of working on that first big thing, did you also have something like that where you felt it in your body?
Oh, yeah. I don't think I've met anybody who doesn't know what that what those feelings are at this point.
Yes.
And I definitely, it was in my stomach, like right in the middle, right where the soft the ribs and goes down into the abs, right in the middle,
Yeah.
right there, right in the center, and in my neck. I
Ah.
tensed up, and it's just like I don't, and I think I don't know if you were there when I first started talking about this, where even after I started talking to my SP again,
Mhm.
I kept getting those little startings of it, like little
Mhm.
feelings of it. And that's where I had to say, we have what we want. Like in the past, I could say, no, we're going to get what we want.
Mhm.
There's absolutely no reason to stress. There's no reason to do that spur of the moment reaching out, or do I have to do this, or second guessing yourself. No, you can take that moment to take your breath and say, no, this is all good. But even when my SB came back, it was
Mhm.
almost a too good to be true type feeling. Like, oh my God, is this how do I keep this? Do I have to do more self concept? Do I have to do everything like it? It's like no,
Mhm.
everything is conforming how we knew it was already going to conform. This
Yeah.
is just the fruition of it, and we
Yeah.
have to, like I said before, just have to let it happen.
Yeah.
And I
Yep.
think that's what really trips people up of, well, when they get into the techniques, into all this information, at the end of the day, you just have to let it happen.
Yeah. Yep. And I think for me, I think I agree with you completely, because it's like it's almost so easy that you're like suspicious of it, like,
Hmm.
wait, so I just have to get myself right and then everything's going to be okay. And
Hmm.
it's like, yes, you know,
Yeah.
and because, people will sometimes say to me, but so and so got their manifestation in 3 days, they got
Yeah.
their message in an hour, where's my text message? And it's kind of like, I don't get me wrong, I was there, so
Hmm.
I completely understand. But at the same time, what it is why is like 40 minutes so important? Why is the 2 hours so important? Why can't you let yourself have it? Why do you need the proof so badly, so to speak, right? And
Hmm.
then when they start kind of getting into that, they're like, oh, so, okay, I see now that, I was standing in my way, but you're
Hmm.
saying if I just remove myself, I'll be okay. And it's like they still kind of want to do something. And I
Yeah.
think it's just how I think because when we're young, or I think so many for me, there's so many hustle kind of
Hmm.
culture things going around, and you got 24/7 grind. You're not going to be successful unless you're podcasting every hour, on the dot, releasing every 5 seconds, doing 50 TikToks a day, algorithm, that kind of thing. And those things have seeped in a little bit, they're like
Yes.
weirdly limiting beliefs, even if they were
Hmm.
meant to try to motivate people. And it's kind of like, well, I'm not podcasting every single day. I'm not doing 50 TikToks. So I guess I'm not I guess I can't do it, and it's kind of like, and I think that it's like, well, shouldn't I be stalking my SP, or, going, it's like,
Yeah.
you can, and you can still get him if you want, or her, or them,
Hmm.
but do you really want, is that going to make you feel better about everything? And the answer is
Yeah.
usually no.
No.
and
Yeah.
and it's more like, why do I want to do that so badly? Why can't I have to like sit on my hands almost because I want to text them so badly? And yeah, so there was
Yeah.
that.
In those moments, that's where I really um, come to separate the conscious from the ego, because that is literally an ego response. Your ego
Yeah.
screaming out to keep itself in it, because the thing is, our ego is there to keep us safe, but it is only safe in patterns, in
Right.
cycles. So even if consciously you're lonely, you're broke, you don't have the success that you want, it's what you're
Hmm.
constantly telling yourself. So your ego is quote unquote comfortable there. So it's going
Right.
to try to keep you there.
Yeah.
But in those instances, you got to say, no, no, it's fine. We're getting exactly what we want. We're safe
Hmm.
in our new selves. We don't need to push. We don't need to check the 3D, and like that's kind of a through line for everybody. I don't think you have to be considered new to have those types of responses, because uh, it's just, I don't know, human nature, I guess, at this point, where you have to get to a point with your self concept that your ego is completely on board, and
Yeah.
you don't get those instances, you don't get those triggers of, well, I have to do something. It's like,
Hmm.
no, no, you don't. Really, you don't.
Yeah. Yeah. And we talked about this in group as well, but now there is a difference between setting boundaries for yourself and
Mhm.
doing something like that weird, fearful action, like
Yes.
poking the 3D. I know some people refer to it as poking the 3D, stomping on the 3D, punching it in the face, Um, and for me, I found that standing up for myself, even though that I was touching the 3D, that was huge for me, just to
Mhm.
prove to myself almost that, what, I can stand up for myself. People will still like me. I'll still
Mhm.
get everything that I want.
Mhm.
Everything will be fine. Me saying no, it doesn't mean the ground's going to open up, and the apocalypse is going to happen. And it was like,
Yeah.
once that didn't happen, it was kind of
Yeah.
like, okay, yeah, I can keep doing this, when it's necessary, of course.
Mhm.
And don't get me wrong, I had a pendulum swing there for a couple of weeks where it was like, oh, I love setting boundaries. And then suddenly it was like, no, no, no. And I really
Mhm.
had to be like, okay, okay, hey, that was fun. Okay, we know we can do this. Let's neutralize, let's go back to
Mhm.
that calm place. Um, but yes, so
Yeah,
absolutely.
and that was very much part of my original self concept, going back to how I felt unwanted and broken and everything. My 3D response, my ego response, whatever you want to call it, was um, doing things, was buying things for people. It's like, well, maybe they'll like me if I do this now. Maybe they'll like me if I keep this up. And
Yeah,
it wasn't until I said I had to put my foot down and put me first and say,
yeah,
I'm not spending money on that. I'm not
yeah,
going to start my car up just to take you around the corner anymore. I don't need to do
yeah,
that. And
yeah,
guess what? The world didn't implode and they're still my best friend. So
yeah,
you really
yes,
do have to break yourself out of those cycles. And even if your ego is kicking and screaming, you have to show it that it's safe.
yep,
And that
yep,
I can't stress that enough. I think um,
yeah,
along with self concept, it's easing the ego, and
yeah,
this isn't about appeasing. It's not you're not um, stroking it in a way that to prove that you're on top of this throne, that you're owed something from the world. It's that no, you literally control your thoughts and you let the world conform for you.
yeah. And honestly, when you said that, I got goosebumps because I used to do that too. It it was like I realize now is a protective instinct.
Hmm.
Because I felt like I can't be rejected again, and I need to sing for my supper, otherwise I can't, I'm not going to have what I want. And I would capitulate all the time, and everyone would say, oh, it's because you're a nice person. You're the nicest person. You're
Yeah.
so sweet. And that meant something to me, that they thought I was a good person. And
Hmm.
I would capitulate and capitulate, even when I didn't want to, when I was sick. I
Hmm.
remember, walking to the hospital once because I was supposed to get a ride, but they had something else pop up, so they couldn't give me a ride. And instead of, pushing back and demanding in that moment or finding a different way, I just was like, well, yeah, I mean, of course, if there's something else going on, I'll just walk to the hospital, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
And that kind of stuff. And it's only that when you talk about buying something, when I first started this journey, I had bought a birthday present for someone. I don't even like this person. I never did, still don't. And I remember thinking, but I have to get them a birthday present because, like, they are having this dinner, and if I don't go to the dinner, I'm not going to be invited to dinners anymore, because they're going to think I don't like them. And I had a conversation with a friend, and she was like, "But you kind of don't like this person." And I
Yeah.
remember arguing tooth and nail that no, I really like this person. And of course, after I got off the phone, I felt like crap. And
Hmm.
I was like, what am I doing? Like, she's right. Like, I don't like this person. I'm just scared to admit that because in my head, I think if I don't like them, I'm a bad person. And I had to go and return the gift. And I remember I didn't want to return it. It was like, no, because there was no turning back at that point. But after I did that, I haven't thought about her until recently. So right now, actually.
There you go.
And yeah, like you said, it's easing the ego. That's perfect. Such a great. You got to make a TikTok about that. People are
Oh, sure.
that's gonna that's gonna be gangbusters. Um,
Yeah.
okay, another fun question. What kind of do you have any books that you'd like to recommend to people? Is there like a kind of like a book that you for someone who maybe they're not really into the YouTube videos, maybe they just watch TikToks every now and again. Is there a book that you'd recommend, to like step into?
Well, basically, I would definitely recommend The Complete Reader by Neville Goddard.
Hmm.
Um, that one's pretty good. The Law and the Promise is particularly good. And of course, if you really want to go into the self concept, like you said, the psychocybernetics.
Hmm.
But also, I really love The Power of the Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy. I
Hmm.
think he's a bit more down to earth. He the way that it's written is a bit more digestible. Um,
Yeah.
and it's almost like Neville goes into certain, I mean, dare I say, sermons in his books, but
Yeah. Yes.
Dr. Joseph Murphy, he really does break it down and say, okay, so this person thought this much uh, of a certain subject, and look what popped into the reality. And it's
Hmm.
very straightforward. He was a very down to earth man, even though Neville Goddard and Dr. Joseph Murphy were taught by the same person about all of
Right.
this.
Right.
Um,
Right.
yeah, it was, I think it was just even their upbringing and everything. So, yeah, definitely Power of the Subconscious Mind. I would place
Yeah.
that ever so slightly above The Complete Reader by Neville.
And I agree with you. I love that book as well, and I do think that it is more. I wouldn't say more. Maybe practical might not be the right word, but it is a little bit more practical in that it's easier to understand. It seems a
Yeah.
little bit more everyday.
Yes.
Um, yeah, and I love that. And we talked about this a little bit off the pod, so to speak, but one thing that I realized is that everything's kind of all connected together. And
Hmm.
I was flipping through a Tony Robbins book one day in a doctor's office, and I remember he talks about happiness is not really reaching the goal, but it's the feeling of progress, so to speak. And I
Hmm.
remember thinking, oh my God, that's manifestation. That's
Yep.
literally manifestation. And I realized like all the books, all the teachers, they're all kind
Hmm.
of connected together. They might use different words, they might have, different parables or different metaphors, euphemisms for things, but it's all the same thing.
Oh,
It's
definitely.
assuming that you can do better, it's believing that you can do better, and finally just knowing that you are better.
Hmm.
And then there it is. You're better,
And I
and
always, sorry,
yeah, go ahead. No, no, go
I,
ahead.
I, I always find it very funny how people kind of disregard this kind of stuff as, like, quote unquote, new age type stuff. And really, it's not. It's seeped into us. I mean, you look at any kind of, oh God, pop culture, the hero's
Yeah.
journey, everything.
Yes,
It's
Joseph
it's
Campbell.
what
Yeah.
this, yes, it's what this is. And it's always been a part of us. It's just that technology and where we've come in the last, 150 years with interconnectivity and everything. That's what's come to the forefront. And
Yep.
people like to think like, oh, this is like you said, people come into this and think that it's woo woo, or that we're gonna put our crystals on the windowsill and stuff like that, when sure, if that's what you want to believe in, and that's
Yeah.
awesome, but it's just us. It's
Yep.
always been just
Mm-hmm.
us, and this information has always been there. It's
Yeah.
just that now it's more easily accessible because we have things like YouTube and TikTok and podcasts and everything else.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's quite interesting to see once you get on this journey, you really uh, I think even Kimberly said you can say you don't really want to do this anymore, but you can't recork the bottle, as it were,
Yeah.
because you're going to see the instances everywhere because they truly are everywhere where you can
Yep.
track somebody's self concept in a movie, and even rom coms. I love rom coms
Oh my
just
God.
because
Yay.
they literally take our teachings and put it
Yes.
up on the screen, because it's always this seemingly well put together person that goes through something, that meets someone that they know they want,
Right.
but then a setback happens, and oh, I don't know what to
Mhm.
do, and then they come their come to God type moment of or
Mhm.
that aha moment, and they start working on themselves, and things start to happen, and then, like you said, uh, the third act is their love interest running through the airport to them, or somebody finally saying, "Well, we interviewed everybody, but you got the job," or
Right. Right.
it's seeped into us, even if it's
Yeah.
not law of attraction, law of assumption, conscious manifestation. It's always there,
And
and it's always been there.
oh my God, Greg, I'm squealing almost in my heart. The fact that you just said that. I had done a podcast episode months ago about the movie Serendipity and how
Mm,
that was literally manifesting play by play. You can't even, you can't unsee it. I
yeah.
mean, they're finding the, they're detaching from their manifestation. They're laser focused in on their manifestation. They're getting the synchronicities,
Mhm.
that kind of thing. Finally, when they give up on each
Yeah.
other, there it is, you know? And I
Mhm.
had a comment, someone had said, yeah, I liked that and it was cute, but real life doesn't work like that. And I remember saying, but why can't it work like that? Why
Mhm.
are we telling ourselves that we can't have that? I don't know about you, but I want that. I want to meet someone in the ice skating rink with a
Mhm.
glove.
Mhm.
I want someone to run through the airport for me,
Mhm.
and and to me that is 100% achievable. It might not
Yeah.
look exactly the way that it did in that film, but it's logical. And
Mhm.
and I remember thinking we can have that. So
Yeah.
I love that you just said that because you're absolutely right. It is something that is so we obviously want it because we keep
Mhm.
making these movies, we keep going back to these stories. And Tony Robbins is as popular as ever, despite
Mm.
people, dismissing him maybe. And he's still selling millions of books.
Mhm.
So this is something that we need, I think, and we want an outlet for, and we want people to kind of give us advice and different avenues for it. And it's we talked about it in group once how at the end of the day, I don't think anyone needs a life coach. Like you and I, we're
No.
kind of personal trainers, so to speak.
Mhm.
Like we help you if you want to tighten up those obliques a certain type of
Mhm.
way. We're showing you the path, but you're always manifesting. You
Yeah.
can do it by yourself, right?
Mhm.
And I think that I don't know. I love that you said that. That's so powerful. Oh, I love it. It's
Yeah,
so
and
great.
some people, like you said, they don't really need this. Like they don't really need to buy the books and buy the coaching and everything. But
Mm-hmm.
for those odd moments that you're just like, I don't know what else to do. I don't know where this is coming from. They just need a nudge in the right direction. And it's literally giving up that old self,
Yeah,
seeing the new, and I'm going to say it again, let it happen.
yeah, yeah. Just let it
Yeah.
in. You know.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm so glad that you brought that up because my next question would be, what's like your favorite kind of romantic comedy that you're just like, boom, that's manifesting?
Hmm. Actually, can't even answer that. I don't even really watch TV or movies anymore. It's yeah, I don't know. Like I say, Serendipity is definitely one of the ones where it did kind of click for me as well. Once I
Yeah,
saw it years later,
yeah.
and knowing about the consciousness of everything. But
Mm-hmm.
I could almost say like maybe not SP related, but the fact that you do have the power inside you all along. I mean, pick a Marvel movie. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
you
yes.
they drag themselves. They think that they're all powerful. Then shit hits the fan. They have to
Mm-hmm.
go in this soul searching journey. they tighten up their self-concept. They get their focus back on, no, this is who I am, this is what I need to do, and they do it,
Hmm.
and it happens. And even in those times where even in the final fights it might not look favorable, they know
Yeah.
for a fact they're going to win, and they inevitably do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I could, I'd say that.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I think they definitely were reading Joseph Campbell, the writers of all of those Marvel films, for sure.
Mhm, mhm,
But the other thing I like about those movies is because I think sometimes when we're working on a bigger manifestation, it's like we know we got the power, we have the juice, but we're kind of like, but what if I can't get this one big thing, or I got that, but what if I can't get this? And it's when I watch like a Marvel movie, I'm like, these are people with superpowers, right? They
mhm,
know they have the superpowers. They've literally seen things work out,
mhm.
and yet they question, because that's
Yep.
kind of what we do, I think, as human beings. We like the certainty. We like knowing 1,000%.
Mhm.
And so I think that those movies are awesome for that too, just kind of getting you through those moments and kind of
Yep.
being like, oh yeah, I can be compassionate with myself, right?
Yep. Yep. And like I
uh,
say, I'm also into video games and all that, so you see that a lot in
yeah.
especially
Yeah.
story-driven video games. So yeah, like I say, it's a through line uh, for everything, basically. All
Yeah.
popular culture. It's all about manifestation, basically.
It is. It is, and it's like you said, you can't unsee it because it's there. And even in science, I was reading an article about string theory the other day, and I was like, oh, that's just realities, multiple
Hmm.
realities. There it is. That's literally all string theory is.
Hmm.
Um, I was like, oh, there we go. But because it's like a physics, you know, paper, then suddenly it's credible, right, so to
Yes.
speak. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, but anyways, yeah. Okay. So Greg, I have really enjoyed having you on the pod, and God, it's just I'm so excited, and I'm just so happy to, introduce you to some of the listeners. And yeah, I just thank you so much for making the time to do this. I know
Thank you.
you're really busy, and I see so much success for your TikTok. I know your YouTube channel is going to go gangbusters as well. And yeah, I just, it's funny because I remember one of the first meetings that we had, and some of the other members, they were joking around and saying, "Oh, it's time for manifesting with Greg." But
Mhm.
yeah, it is time for manifesting with Greg. Here we are. Here we are.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those things where it's kind of surreal in a way, but also expected, because I knew this was how things were supposed to be for me all
Yeah,
along. And I'll say it one more time. I just let it happen.
yeah, yeah.
So
You did.
yes,
That's all you
well,
did.
thank you so much for having me. I mean, it was my pleasure to be here as well.
Yeah, and I just, yeah, thanks for contributing and giving your voice, kind of lending your voice to this podcast, and just your honesty and your sincerity when you're answering the questions. Like, I know our listeners are going to get a lot out of it. Sometimes they get tired of just listening to me. Maybe it's nice just to get a fresh voice in there. And this is like I said, our first. So you are the first person, the first guest. So a lot of firsts. And
Oh,
I think that they'll get a kick out of it. So I really appreciate you.
awesome. Very good. Thank you so much.
All right. And thank you guys for listening. I hope this helps you. I hope it gives you some good cheer, some good food for thought. And as always, love and light. Thank you so much.